Hi and welcome. I'm Sal Buscemi, CEO of Dandrew Media and co-founder and managing director of Dandrew Partners here in New York City and a former investment banker for Goldman Sachs in New York. In this three-part, 5-minute fundamentals mini-series called Hard Money Secrets, we're going to talk about how private lending, how to start your own bank, and how to fund your deals on demand. For the past 10 years or more, the Federal Reserve has set interest rates at 0%, and that presents an unprecedented, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for you. That opportunity specifically is that there are many more investors today who are interested in placing their money outside of traditional investment firms, away from the stock market, and into real estate-based assets. Why? They need an investment that is secured, one that is insured, and most of all, one that throws off a monthly check that they can actually live on. It's a fact that now a lot of money is flowing out of the stock market, largely because many people don't want to stomach any more roller coasters and wild swings. There's a new movement about. People want their money more intimately managed by people they know and trust in assets that they understand. And right now you're at the forefront of a big shift that's happening in the money management industry. That is why my book, Making a Yield, Real Estate Hard Money Lending Uncovered, has been such a bestseller. It is the definitive manual for those looking to place other people's money into real estate-backed private money loans. This book took 2 years to create over the course of 2 private equity real estate funds that I led and managed. You can say that the research and development cost of this book was over $45 million. And that's some serious money, don't you think? Think about it as an owner's manual for you to become a fund manager. Think about that for a moment. Think about being able to raise capital on demand or having a dedicated pool of capital for your residential deals. Being a real estate fund manager is pure prestige. You become the bank, you get to call the shots, people come to you, you don't need to go begging for deals and competing with the wannabes. The money does all the talking for you. Over the course of these 3 videos, I'm going to talk about some of the strategies as it relates to finding investors, specifically those who aren't related to you. We're going to be covering deal structuring and how to insulate yourself and your investors from most of the risk in your deals. Lastly, we're going to talk about how to uncover $15,000 to $25,000 revenue streams off of one deal. This is in theory, this is what our alumni are doing right now. So let's get started talking about money. Many of you are probably wanting me to show you the money. Meaning, how do you find investors for your deals if you have none of it of your own? Many people start out by beating their family and friends over the head by begging and pleading for them to invest in their deals. But that's kind of awkward, don't you think? Yes, it's a start, but there's an easier way. Let me tell you what I would do if I needed to start over today. If I didn't have any contacts or money, in fact, let me tell you a story. After I left Wall Street when I was just starting out, I found a portfolio of 64 duplexes and triplexes in Mississippi that were in bankruptcy. This would be my first rodeo out of the gate. The amount of money I would make on paper would be well over $1 million. I was smart enough to buy right, but like every other great deal, there was a short fuse. I had to close within 30 days. There wouldn't be enough time to go to a bank and get a loan. And the prospect of having to go through the motions of qualifying for a loan was daunting. I knew that none of these houses would qualify for a loan either. I needed to raise about $750,000 within 30 days, or not only would I lose the deal, but the big payday and the opportunity to build a track record that would eventually get me to where I am today. Have you ever been in a position like that? Now I want you to listen closely here. Private lending or hard money has been around for a very long time. This isn't a new concept. If you've read my book, Making the Yield, you know that being a private lender goes back to biblical times, back to Moses. What I decided to do is to search out lenders who are already making private loans. Now, even though there's huge interest in real estate today, not all investors are the same. Some investors already have been lending on real estate for a while now, and it's just a matter of uncovering them. These are the folks who you don't have to spend a lot of time to talk off the ledge to become a private lender in your deals. You don't have to get their accountant's blessing. There's no need to do a lot of hand-holding here to convince someone to go from the stock market to real estate. Does that make sense? Keep in mind that your investor list is very sacred to you, and very few people will share their investors with you. No fund manager I know will ever tell you who their rich investors are, and for obvious reasons. And it works both ways. Wealthy investors don't want the world to know what they are investing in. So it's an industry that's veiled in secrecy. Remember, in real estate, there are winners and there are losers, and that's driven off of the experience of the fund manager. Many private mortgage pool managers are great marketers, but are absolutely lousy operators. All bark, no bite. And this creates an opportunity for the clever investor. Are you with me so far? When these private mortgage funds go belly up, it's usually big. They file bankruptcy because they lent to people who were weak and inexperienced, so the loans went bad. Sometimes they lend on businesses and not even on real estate, or overvalued real estate, or speculatively on raw land. You name it. And remember, I wrote the book on it. Now, remember when I told you that most private mortgage pool investors would never share their investors? Well, here's where it gets interesting. Whenever a mortgage pool or fund files bankruptcy, those investors are listed as a matter of public record in the plaintiffs or creditors in the bankruptcy filing. Every single one of them are now exposed for the world to see. Are you seeing where I'm going with this? Now, I'm sure you're thinking, why would any one of these investors want to invest in a private mortgage pool again? My simple answer to you is that these folks know the risks. And now, after getting 10, 12, 14% money in their mailbox each month, they are addicted. There is nothing out there that comes close to interest rates that are offered by banks or traditional investment brokers. Nothing that is as secured and insured as private loans against real estate at low loan-to-values. And you'll also see that time heals all wounds. And as long as interest rates stay this low, those wounds will heal faster. These investors will want to get back into the game sooner. I'm sure you're asking how to execute this strategy. Don't worry, I've got you covered. In the email you received, there was a PDF of a step-by-step blueprint that was included for you to download. If you didn't download it, well, you'll want to hurry. There's an expiration on that download as we only want it in the hands of those who bought and read my book. But let me go briefly through the steps here. First, you'll want to use a site like elance.com to hire a paralegal to do a LexisNexis search for you on Reg D real estate funds who have recently filed bankruptcy. Tell them you'll pay them for the names and addresses only for those living individuals, trustees, beneficiaries such as IRAs who are listed as plaintiffs or creditors. You don't want the name of vendors such as Verizon Wireless or the internet providers. That's not of any use to you. Then when you get the list, you'll want to send a handwritten letter or a postcard sending them to your website or to email you. Very rarely will you get the phone numbers, but again, if you really want to dig deep, you can hire someone on elance.com to do a phone number search for you on these investors for an extra fee. Many of these private investigative search firms are on the internet and can be done quite cheaply. I find the handwritten way is the best way to go, and you can hire someone for cheap to write these postcards for you. For example, sourcing people locally, like stay-at-home mothers, are a great resource for you to have them write these out. It's up to you. And if you have bad handwriting, you'll want to definitely find someone else to do this. Otherwise, you risk scaring your prospective investor. Lastly, you want to keep a deal book of all of your investors. You'll want to understand what they like to lend on and what they don't like to lend on. Since technology can be finicky, I prefer to use a book like this that we show here in the video. Later, you can transcribe that into a spreadsheet by hiring someone on Fiverr.com to do that for you. And I'm sure you want to know the rest of the story. You're probably wondering, Sal, what happened to your deal? Did it close or did someone die? I'm happy to say that this strategy paid off handsomely for me. I was able to raise the $750,000 I needed and eventually made a chunk later when I sold off those newly rehabbed 64 duplexes and triplexes. I had a track record now, and I didn't need to have to lay in a pool of my own sweat because I developed a strategy to have the money come to me. Years later, I would see the same motivation from those investors when I would start my second distressed private real estate equity fund that purchased these private mortgage pools that were struggling and were facing bankruptcy. Most of these wealthy investors wanted to invest in our deals. Unfortunately, at the time, we didn't need their money. As time goes on, and as markets go up and down, there will be winners and losers. How you use those opportunities to your advantage will create wealth for you and your investors. Keep in mind that at our special training event coming soon, we're going to go through many more of these strategies, so you want to keep an eye on your email for that. In the next video, we're going to discuss other big ticket revenue streams that come with being a private lender. And this is one I'm sure that you've never thought of. Lastly, I encourage you to leave comments, questions, feedback of what you'd like to know more about in the comments box below. I want to thank you for watching this video, and I hope that you've learned something valuable that will help you get closer to attaining your goals.